So today we are going to unpack mental health, what it is, what it's not, what it encompasses, and just some like perceptions of how we see mental health and how we can use mental health in our day-to-day lives and how it affects every one of us, whether we like to admit it or not. So let's get into it. And my first question for today is, what is mental health? Like, how do you guys define mental health out there? Drop your comments, go on the Facebook page and write about it. Let me know how you guys see mental health and how you define mental health. So what really is mental health? Mental health is really about our well-being, how we respond to emotions, difficult situations, how we're able to just cope with day-to-day things, right? That's mental health in a nutshell. So a lot of times we mix up mental health and mental illnesses, disorders, or issues. Bear in mind, those are something that are all encompassed under the umbrella of mental health, but they're separate, they're different. Because you can have anxiety as a mental health, but it could also be something that is a good thing. It's not always a bad thing. You know, it could be a motivational factor. It could be saying, okay, I feel really pressured right now. Let's get this task done, right? But again, you can have anxiety that is a disorder, and that's called anxiety disorder. And this is when it's dysfunctional. It's not allowing you to really do day-to-day activities. Like somebody, for example, who might have social anxiety, which is often common in kids, and they have select mutism. So what select mutism is, they only talk to their close-knit circle. So maybe their mom and their dad and their siblings and everybody else they don't talk to. FYI, Maya Angelou, after a traumatic experience, had select mutism. So it's not something that we can't work ourselves towards a better, but it's dysfunctional. It hinders our day-to-day activities and what is a normal baseline, right? So that's it. Mental illnesses really looks at like the disorders, the issues, what is the dysfunctional parts, what are the deviant parts, what are the distressors, and what are the dangers within that that mental illness, right? And when we're talking about mental illnesses, that's what we're really talking about. We're talking about dysfunction, we're talking about distress, we're talking about, is it dangerous, and we're talking about, is it deviant? And I like to call that the 4 Ds of mental health illnesses. So it kind of gives us a baseline of what we need to kind of cope with and how we can move from a state of mental illness to a state of mental health and well-being. And that's really what mental health looks like in a nutshell, right? It's not necessarily always the illnesses. So what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to have good mental health? Because everybody can have good mental health. So you look at somebody who exercises all the time, you can physically see the changes in their body. They're either building up muscles or they're losing weight and they start to look good, and everyone's like, yes, we can see it. It looks good. And it's something we can physically see. But good mental health is really how we're able to balance through stressful situations, how we're able to cope with stressful situations that might occur in our lives, or just with things like with depression and anxiety. Like, how are we able to overcome some of those things and pull out some of our tools from our toolkit to kind of help us walk through some of those struggles, right? And good mental health will allow you to be optimal in that. It won't allow you to be stuck in whatever mental illnesses that you have. Granted, some mental illnesses do need medication, and some people find medication works. So on an extreme spectrum, like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, you know, they might need more medication to kind of help regulate some of like the hormonal imbalances, because under mental illnesses, we can have hormonal imbalances as well. Same with somebody who's pregnant. Like, they might experience more anxiety and depression just because their hormones are not regulated, right? But again, it's around the umbrella of it's dysfunctional. It's not allowing somebody to live their day-to-day life optimal, right? It's causing some kind of issues in the function of that person's cycle of well-being, right? So good mental health kind of fosters it. So if we can think about having really great physical health and really great mental health and really great spiritual health, because I look at it as a complete circle, mind, body, and soul. We gotta feed into every part. How much better of a person are we becoming if we're able to incorporate all of those things? A lot of times, oftentimes, we focus on, yes, let's get our body looking nice, which is a great thing. Don't get me wrong. I like a hot body. I like when my body's hot. But side note, but we want to make sure that our minds are doing well as well. We want to make sure that we are fueling that, like we are feeding into that, whether it's through reading books, whether it's through meditations and mantras, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through having different coping strategies like self-care, whether it's just taking a break when things feel overwhelmed. And we want to make sure we're implementing that into our lives so we can have really good mental health and we're able to kind of cope with life difficulties and challenges. Because the reality is, every one of us at one point in time, we're going to go through something, right? And what does that look like? Are we able to say, yo, we're going to break down and now what? Or we can say, nah, we have a whole bunch of resources that we can pull through and make it happen. So in a nutshell, this is overall what mental health is. So I'm just going to do a quick recap. So in case you missed it, mental health, it could be a good thing. It is about our well-being, how we're able to cope emotionally and regulate difficult situations and things that might be stressful in our lives. Whereas mental illnesses, disorders, and issues are things that are dysfunctional to our day-to-day lives. So in a nutshell, that is what mental health is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first podcast. Go ahead and subscribe, join in, and I'm gonna definitely put out some more. So thank y'all for listening.